Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org, and if you're overseas and on the move, U.S. listeners can access us at 712-832-801. And if you're in the UK, 0330-332-6541, or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM Facebook and YouTube Live. In the first watch today, euthanasia and the right to die lobby. In the second watch, safety and the Christmas season. Our social media question we ask, what are your thoughts on euthanasia and the right to die? Please share your responses on our Facebook page, Love 101 FM, and also whether by post or voice note to WhatsApp 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your responses later on in the program, but before all of that, here's I quote.
This morning's I quote, strive not to be a success, but rather to be of value. Albert Einstein.
A great quotation there. Good morning, Shivani.
Good morning, Rev. How are you?
I'm doing well, you know. I'm hearing that you have a distinctive name brand laugh.
Oh, okay. I should start selling it, right?
Yeah. I hear people talking about this Shivani laugh.
Oh,
Eh?
here's some money.
Listen, I am willing to be your manager. Is that okay, sir?
Yes, that's perfectly fine.
For commission.
Okay, that's fine.
That's fine. All right, we're going to talk about it after, all right?
Yes.
The first watch will be back after this break.
Mountains, rivers, and trees, clean water we drink, fresh air we breathe, nature's diversity. Jamaica. At the bush grow we, make we preserve it. Forest is life, so let's conserve it. Don't burn it down, don't chop it down, no. Leave the forest, make it grow. Don't burn it down, don't chop it down, no. Leave the forest, make it grow. Here in the bush, living wild and free. Jamaica pretty, everybody wants to see. The forest is life, so just respect it. Do all we can, sustain and protect it. Don't burn it down, don't chop it down, no. Leave the forest, make it grow. Don't burn it down, don't chop it down, no. Leave the forest, make it go.
Brought to you by the Forestry Department and the European Union.
From generation to generation, Jamaicans have depended on J&B Bank to make the pride and joy of providing a safe place for their families possible. Now, with no processing fees and no down payment mortgage options, you can open the door to your own sweet home, a legacy to hand to your next generation. Visit jnbank.com to get pre-approved today. JN Bank will help you find a way.
25, 50, 75. 25, 50, 75. Get a special Christmas advertising package on the family station Love 101 FM for only $25,000, $50,000, or $75,000 plus GCT this Christmas. 25, 50, 75. 25, 50, 75. Call our sales department now for this amazing deal. Christmas advertising packages for only $25,000, $50,000, or $75,000. Only on the family station Love 101 FM this Christmas. Don't miss your opportunity. Call our sales department now. 876-968-9596. That's 876-968-9596. Call now.
Money, money, money! We know some extra cash in your pocket this holiday season can go a far way. Grace Kennedy Money Services Western Union will deliver your wish. Receive a Western Union money transfer for your chance to win a share of $2.5 million. 100 lucky customers will receive cash prizes of $20,000 each, and 5 lucky customers will each win grand prizes of $100,000 cash. Visit gkmsonline.com for details. Authorized under Section 58(3) of the Betting, Gaming, and Lotteries Act.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Now, recently, in acknowledgement of what is called the World Right to Die Day, that's the World Right to Die Day, a Gleaner article entitled Death Wish stated as follows, and I quote, "Medical and scientific professionals believe that the time is right for Jamaica to frontally discuss the ethical dilemma surrounding the right to die amid a growing global lobby for euthanasia to be legalized," end of quote. So what really is the ethical dilemma surrounding euthanasia? And how ready is Jamaica to frontally discuss the issue? To discuss these and other related questions, we have online Dr. Brian James, President of the Medical Association of Jamaica, and Reverend Sean Major Campbell, Rector of Christ Church and a human rights activist. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Dr. Toussaint.
Morning.
Good morning to you. How are you doing today?
I'm well, and how are you?
I'm doing
Okay.
exceptionally well.
Great. Good to have
Trying not
you
to be
both.
successful to be of value.
Yeah, well. Yes, good to have you both with us this morning. I begin with you, Dr. James, and then I throw the question over to Reverend Major Campbell. What is your understanding of euthanasia? Are there different types or categories of euthanasia, and if so, what are they?
Yes. Again, thanks for having me on your program. Euthanasia, the definition of euthanasia has been fraught with all kinds of controversy, just the definition. But there are some elements that really have been settled on. So euthanasia involves killing. It involves taking the life of someone, and it involves whether killing with their approval or without their approval. So those are two different types. For it to be euthanasia, it has to be solely for the purpose of quote unquote benefiting them, i.e. taking away suffering. So that's the third one. And it cannot benefit the person who is taking the life. So the different types would be whether voluntary or involuntary or non-voluntary euthanasia. Or it can be active or passive. So if you apply some kind of substance or procedure to the person that you are aware will cause their death for the purpose of taking their life and allaying their suffering, then that is active. If you withhold or deny a process or procedure that you know will prolong their life, then that is passive. So that's the complicated definition of euthanasia.
I don't know if Reverend Major Campbell would like to add anything to that.
Well, let me also say thanks for the sharing opportunity.
Yes.
And to note too that I am not representing the views of the Diocese of Jamaica and the Cayman Islands, of which I'm a part, but simply representing my own views.
Right.
I am really only speaking in the context of euthanasia that seeks to alleviate suffering and benefit only the individual who wishes death with dignity.
Yes, Father Major Campbell. Are you through?
Oh, if I'm being allowed to go on, I can do that.
Okay, right. Okay, so let's now go to your personal view on the practice, and then I throw to Dr. James.
Yes, I do believe there is a place for this conversation. Interestingly, I raised the question some years ago in the space of social media. I am not sure that anybody even responded. But eventually, as the years are progressed, you get one or two responses. I even raised it on my Facebook page this morning, and it was interesting to see the one or two responses. However, I do believe that we need to have this conversation in Jamaica. I believe that we need to beware, certainly within the space of church and religion and so forth. We must beware of the temptation to just make quick blanket statements that prevent us from engaging a necessary conversation. And some of those quick blanket statements will be just saying things like, well, God give life, God will take life away, full stop. And we leave it there. It promotes intellectual laziness and intellectual dishonesty. So I am suggesting that when we come to the challenging gray areas and ethical dilemmas, we must engage the challenge of the discourse, because life is not easily put into just black or white categories, either or categories, and limited to binary thinking.
And so, what is your view on it?
Well, maybe I'm not making myself clear, so let me go back to that again. So I am saying there is a place for the conversation, and I believe that there is a place for euthanasia. I believe that value should be placed on the individual's position. For example, I can tell you again, to make it even a little more personal, my personal position is that if I get to that stage and place in life where it is just a suffering, terminal illness, literally being a burden to those around me.
Pull the plug. Pull the plug.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I believe that it affirms life in a powerful way.
Okay. Dr. James, I'm sure that you're going to be speaking personally and not on behalf of the MAJ as well.
Yes, you're correct. The MAJ has not articulated a position. We haven't had the discussion in any fulsome way in recent times. My personal position is that I do not have a strong position one way or the other. I'm still in the place where I'm examining the arguments. I'm agnostic about it. I believe that my position is leaning towards my medical culture of first do no harm, right? And I've spent a lot of years in medicine, and all of it I've spent trying to preserve life. And therefore, when I am faced with a decision now to take life, that is not easy at all. And I think quite a large proportion of the doctors who I have had the pleasure or displeasure of discussing this story with, they have a similar kind of situation dealing with. Now, not all death is painful death, right? And therefore,
Before you go any further, Dr. James, you're up on a break. Could you hold that thought, please? We'll be right back.
sure.
Between 2015 and 2020, there were 74,455 reports of child abuse in Jamaica. Report child abuse. Call 211.
The time brought to you by Child Protection Services is
7:15.
Make I tell you about short-term motor insurance from JNGI. You choose what you need, 30, 60, 90 days policy. No long commitment, full third party. Don't park your car, don't walk, get a shotty. So affordable and it's not per nation market. JNGI shotty. Country party, we have a shotty. Just insure your vehicle and start it. Roll out with a shotty. Shotty, the short-term motor insurance from JN General Insurance. Available only online.
Thanks, here, Arville. I really appreciate it.
Why you bothering Arville again, Lisa?
You know I have my annual returns to file with company's office, and nobody can help me but him.
But there's a new one-page form now called the status quo form. It's for people not making any changes to them company details, like shares, info, director, and so on.
Sign, pay, and go. The new status quo form makes filing annual returns easy. For more information, call the company's Office of Jamaica at 908-4419.
It's almost Christmas and Phosphorus Super Sale is back. Yes, you heard it. Come Monday, November 22 to December 2, enjoy massive discounts on electrical and lighting products, LED bulbs, flood lamps, and so much more. COVID still a keep, so all protocols will be strictly observed. Step on down to Phosphorus in Kingston, Mandeville, and Montego Bay, or visit phosphorus.com/shop. It's Phosphorus Super Sale, November 22 to December 2. It's Phosphorus.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint, and in the first watch, we are discussing this heavy topic of euthanasia and Jamaica's right and the right to die lobby. Euthanasia and the right to die lobby. And we have online Reverend Sean Major Campbell, Rector of Christ Church, human rights activist, and Dr. Brian James, President of the Medical Association of Jamaica. Welcome again, gentlemen. Thanks for staying with us. Before the break, Dr. James. Is Dr. James with us still? Not seeing him as yet. Okay, there he is. Okay, yes. So, Dr. James, before the break, you were telling us about your personal views, and I think you were going into some other issues in regards to euthanasia. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I think I was going to say that the question is going to divide people, right? This is something that has divided quite a number of people in large numbers of countries all over the world. In America, in the late 1800s, to England in the sort of early parts of the 1900s, etc. And it's going to even divide the medical fraternity, right? I mean, that was a part of the division in America. And it's going to divide the religious community. It has all of those elements in it. In New York, in the sort of after the war, there was a major division between the Catholic Church and the Protestant Church. And that's where the division was at the time. But even within the Protestant movement, now there is division. So this is not an easy question. You describe it as heavy, and believe me, it's super heavy. So as I say, I am ambivalent about all of this. But since the goodly reverend is on the side of euthanasia under whatever circumstances, I'm going to try to take mainly the other side, because the other side actually brings up a lot of questions. The first thing about the persons who advocate euthanasia is that it's often advocated on the basis of suffering and pain whilst dying. the real situation is it's not clear. It is not known that all deaths are painful. Some people their physiological changes. I'm an intensivist, so I see people who are critically ill and comatose die all the time, right? And now I'm a pediatric intensivist. I see it in children. And the physiological changes of pain and anxiety are not necessarily seen when people are dying. Some people do die in pain. And for those people, alternatives such as the use of effective pain relief is available. So if somebody is dying, you can do palliative care that will give them the dignity sought by the persons who advocate euthanasia. And that is an actually big area of medicine now, palliative care. And some of the people who oppose euthanasia say, and this came out of India recently where there was a Supreme Court judgment, that what they found is that whenever euthanasia is legalized, then palliative care suffers. So a lot of people, the people who do not decide to quote unquote die in dignity, they end up suffering more because of this, the existence of the legalization of right to die.
Stick up in there, Dr. James. For those who do not know, what is palliative care in essence?
Palliative care is easing the suffering during the last sort of weeks or months of life. And it involves making the person, some people say, make them comfortable. So you give them pain relief, you make sure that their nutritional needs are met, their hygienic needs are met, they're comfortable. Any physiotherapy that is required to relieve pain and suffering, all of those are done. And that is a big branch of medicine at the moment.
Okay.
In Holland, I'm told that this, I don't have a lot of evidence for, that in Holland, where euthanasia is legal, palliative care has suffered quite a bit for it.
Okay, thank you. Reverend Major Campbell, your take on that, and I want you to bear in mind, Reverend Campbell, that there are persons who would say, what about the whole matter of the sanctity of life and the sixth commandment, thou shalt not kill or you shall not commit murder?
Yes, so just to note that the matter of palliative care versus euthanasia is a management and legislative issue. The observance or practice of one should not result in the demise of the other. Regarding the sanctity of life, it is because I believe in the sanctity of life why I support euthanasia. And I believe in the value of self-determination, the individual being able to say that, I know, and they're doing this long before that stage comes, that should this particular stage of life come, this is what I want. I don't want people forcing to keep me alive and all that kind of thing. Interestingly, a comment I got this morning was where some students, when asked the question, the response was they felt that since it is God who gives life and people don't have the power to do so, then in those last moments, there should be affirmation and regard for that sense of powerlessness. One of the things I couldn't help thinking about is that for some people, for all their life, they have been powerless. And in this one little moment, when they just know that they want to go dying with dignity, they find that they are forced to just continue living like this or existing like this. So self-determination, death with dignity, affirming death as a private matter, that the individual should have some say in. And also affirmation of the wider use of resources. All of that, I think, is important. So it's not just about avoidance of painful suffering, because as Dr. rightly noted, there are some persons who, while dying, may not necessarily be suffering a painful death, so to speak. There's also the matter of what their loved ones are experiencing as they watch them with a long, slow death. When the family member who is dying, long requested, they don't want to be in this position where they are totally useless, helpless, just using resources that could be better used, etc., etc., etc.
Okay, Dr. James, any response to what was said a while ago?
Yes. In the case of the family members, palliative care actually extends to support of the family members as well. So it's a holistic type of approach to management of the dying. But I'd like to add a couple other things. One is that if we were to change the laws, if we were to institute a law that says euthanasia is acceptable or not illegal, then we'd have to have a constitutional change. To change the constitution in Jamaica or in almost all countries is a major thing. The Constitution, Chapter 3, Section 13, the very first right that is mentioned is the right to life. And there's a quote that I saw from the Indian experiences. The right to life is a natural embodiment of this chapter, but suicide is an unnatural termination or extinction of life, and therefore incompatible and inconsistent with the concept of right to life. So that needs to be put there. So a big constitutional sort of commission would have to come in place and amend it. The second thing is in the case of minors. What happens in the case of minors? Do they have the right when you are 12 years old to say, I do not want to die, I do not want to live? Do they have the right to do it against their parents' wishes? Suppose the parents think that they should die and they don't think that they should die. Which one should? There are a lot of questions, a lot of minds in this field.
But Dr. James, how do you respond to those who argue that human existence is best measured by one's quality of life rather than the quantity of life?
And how do you measure quality?
Well, I guess if they're in the last days, they're in, can't do what they used to do. They are in pain. They feel less than. They are a burden to their family and perhaps feel a burden to their society. Perhaps people will think that is a lower measure of one's quality of life.
Yeah, well, I do agree that might seem to a lot of people as a lower quality than how you used to be. But where is the threshold? Who determines what that threshold is? Who determines precisely when you have arrived at that threshold? That is not very easy, And
Right.
when I'm speaking about children, there was a case in Nazi Germany where they started to say once a child is born who is deformed and have all kinds of disabilities, then they would end the life, and that was called euthanasia. So it puts you on a lot of slippery areas.
Slippery slopes. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, 1 minute, Reverend Major Campbell, just 1 minute. Any final thoughts?
Just to say, that since life is sacred, it should be affirmed in wholesome ways, not in suffering and dying and the lack of dignity, and that in spite of the gray areas and the challenges presented by the conversation, we in the space of religion and the church in particular ought to engage the conversation and not just shut it down with a favorite Bible verse.
Okay. I want to thank you both, gentlemen, for joining us this morning. Though it was a heavy topic, it was very informative and, in my view, enlightening. And I pray that you have a productive day and keep up the good quality of life that you both live in. God bless you.
Thank you very much.
And thanks to Dr. James for his contribution.
Thank you, Reverend. This was interesting.
Bless you. Listeners, the Morning Watch will return in just a moment.
Now with no processing fees and no down payment, it's time to open the door to your own sweet home. The time by JN Bank is
7:31 a.m.
2550 75 2550 75. Get a special Christmas advertising package on the family station Love 101 FM for only $25,000, $50,000, or $75,000 plus GCT this Christmas. 2550 75. 2550 75. Call our sales department now for this amazing deal. Christmas advertising packages for only $25,000, $50,000, or $75,000. Only on the family station Love 101 FM this Christmas. Don't miss your opportunity. Call our sales department now. 876-968-9596. That's 876-968-9596. Call now.
Join host Colleen Beckles and guest Andre Allen Casey this Thursday, November 18 at 5:30 p.m. inside the Truly Marvelous program To Have and to Hold, as they discuss how to support your spouse who is recovering from COVID. That's the Truly Marvelous program To Have and to Hold Marriages, and it happens this and every Thursday at 5:30 p.m. on the family station Love 101.
Pay your water bill. Keep the benefits flowing to wash your clothes and dishes. It's a small price for a big service. That was a message from the NWC.
Tis the season for boldness with Virgin.
Get 20% discount. A chance to win a grand prize of $200,000 in cash. Plus a share of $1 million in weekly cash and prizes. How to enter? Purchase any 2 gallons of eligible Berger paints and receive an entry code. Visit www.bergerpaints.mobi and enter the code along with your contact information. Promotion ends December 31st.
Tis the season for boldness with Virgin.
Berger for lasting beauty and protection.
Are you an accomplished professional with senior managerial experience? Optimize your profitability with a high-impact doctoral degree from the University of Sunderland, offered through the University of the Commonwealth Caribbean. Practitioners without a master's degree but with significant senior managerial experience can also be considered for direct admission into the professional doctoral degree program. Begin your next journey of discovery. Apply online today at ucc.edu.jm or call us at 876-906-3000. UCC, fostering leadership and innovation.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Thanks for staying with us. Let's take a look at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. We have information only from the Observer this morning. And in the Observer, employers want more time to re-engage laid off workers. And we see also vax worry. Private sector awaiting government's directive on vaccination mandate for workers. And then finally, in the Observer, let's talk water in schools. Resource professionals lobby for inclusion in curriculum. Let's talk water in schools. Interesting. Well, coming up next, we'll read some of the feedback from our Facebook and WhatsApp question. What are your thoughts on euthanasia and the right to die? Please share your responses on our Facebook page, Love 101 FM, and also whether by text or voice note to WhatsApp 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your responses later on. In the meantime, we'll be right back.
To Dollars and Cents every Thursday at 8:16 a.m. We'll give you tips on how to make your money count, how to save, and how to grow your worth. It's all inside Dollars and Cents, brought to you by BPM Financial Limited, taking you higher. That's Dollars and Cents every Thursday at 8:16 a.m. on the family station, Love 101.
I've got love in my heart.
Tune into a live 1 to 5 this Throwback Thursday, November 18 for an expose of Jamaican, African, and other proverbs from around the globe. Tune in and delight yourself with the fascinating discoveries as we explore the origins, significance, meaning, and other interesting aspects of these proverbial sayings with our specially invited guests. And you too will have the opportunity to make an input in this roundtable session. So join us this and every Thursday for Proverbially Speaking, 3 p.m. Inside Alive, 1 to 5 with me, Sarah, and the Chirpy One, right here on the family station, Love 101.
Being a youth is difficult no matter what, and the COVID-19 pandemic is making it even harder. With school closures and canceled events, many youths are missing out on some of the biggest moments of their lives, as well as everyday moments like chatting with friends and participating in class. For young folks facing life changes and are feeling isolated and disappointed, know this: you are not alone. Your family station, Love 101, is standing with you. Here are 6 things you can do to practice self-care and look after your mental health. Number 1, recognize that your anxiety is completely normal. Number 2, create distractions. Number 3, find new ways to connect with your friends. Number 4, focus on you. Number 5, feel your feelings. And number 6, be kind to yourself and others. Linda Poindexter says, one small crack does not mean that you're broken. It means that you are put to the test and it didn't fall apart. Hi, I'm Shavani Blair, your youth ambassador. And remember, now more than ever, we need to be thoughtful about what we share or say that may hurt others. Happy Youth Month. Let's evolve.
I'll lean on you, lean on me. We got this. 75, 25, 50, 75.
Get a special Christmas advertising package on the family station, Love 101 FM, for only $25,000, $50,000, or $75,000 plus GCT this Christmas.
25, 50, 75. 25, 50, 75.
Call our sales department now for this amazing deal. Christmas advertising packages for only $25,000, $50,000, or $75,000. Only on the family station, Love 101 FM this Christmas. Don't miss your opportunity. Call our sales department now. 876-968-9596. That's 876-968-9596. Call now.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Let's join Shavani for a look at how our Facebook and WhatsApp friends answered today's question. What are your thoughts on euthanasia and the right to die? Shavani.
Good morning. Let me not miss this opportunity to say a big thanks to the staff at the Cornwall Regional Hospital in St. James. On last Saturday, my niece was...
Well, I'm hoping that's
she was so sick and just at the point of death that if it were possible, we would have ordered this euthanasia for her, okay? But by Sunday evening, when they took her to the theater and gave her a very serious surgery, thank God She's a far better person being discharged this morning. Away with euthanasia.
Alrighty.
Okay.
Right. This comment says it's basically suicide by the hands of someone else, which is wrong. I'm seeing 8911 saying, let me see. My mother was 91 years and had many challenges physically. I also found myself one morning releasing her hands. She passed away, and she's amazed at how. Okay, so right. Thanks for sharing, because it's a lot there for me to just go through now. But thank you for sharing 8911. Thank you. Adriel, let's turn it over back to you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much to those who responded. We're happy that the niece is recovering, and we continue to pray for her. Well, listeners, as we now segue into the second watch, I invite you to listen to this voice note that has been making the rounds. And then after that, we'll introduce our guests.
Probably in the second or third row parking. Park and him prepare himself to come out, and a gentleman will come to inside him vehicle to tell him that him left tire. Something wrong with him left tire. I'm looking at the gentleman, look clean shaved now good enough, but the man was here in a black pants and white shirt, just like all the must be security man them in the compound. Look. So after him probably settle himself or whatever and prepare himself to come out. Come and look on it. Tire. And him we are going around to look on the tire now. A woman come to join to tell him about him tire same way. But in telling him about him tire and going, the woman actually attempted or go inside the vehicle now to start take up him item. So he must step to her to take up him item to ask her what she had to take up or whatever. Next thing the man beside him just step to him with a gun pointing to him side, lower side. Probably might make sure you use a vehicle height for shield. So the man start telling him, say, yo, give away what you have. But I try not or whatever. So his initial thought was to say that, yeah, I robbed him actually, I robbed him, but the boy actually make him appear as if he was one of the security in the place. So when him kind of button question the argument, the boy lift up the gun straight up and say, yo, I say, give away, I do me no want to do, or whatever. So him feel just ease, give them what him have. I said, having cash now, and him I go deal it. I say, I bang to you, and the man, him watch and all them thing there, I see him phone and everything. So within a flash, the boy and the girl take off him items them off of him. And I move. But they actually appeared as if they might come to tell him about him vehicle. So just leave it at that and go and report it to the police. And they must share it to them friends.
Wow. Well, you heard it, folks. And this is what's going on in our country at this time. I need not say more. We have online 2 security experts as we focus on the topic, safety, security, and the Christmas season. We have Mr. Robert Finsley Smith, security expert and consultant, and Dr. Jason Mackay, criminologist and CEO of Mackay Security. Good morning to you both, gentlemen.
Good morning. Morning.
All right, good to have you both with us this morning. Let's go right into it, gentlemen. You heard the voice note a while ago. What are some other major strategies used by criminals in recent times? Mr. Finsley Smith, you first.
Well, what I can tell you is that there is a perception of safety in numbers. So some people, based on the voice note you have just put out there, you have some people that feel that because they're in a public space, they are safe. They let their guard down, like in plazas, etc. But sometimes the crowded area isn't safety for you. It's camouflage for them. And you have a lot of people who are wide awake in a dream. They move around feeling safe because they're in a public space. And that may be comforting to them mentally, but in physical actuality, it is not the reality. You have to keep yourself alert and follow your instinct. If it feels wrong, it's wrong. Something is not too right. And you need to take evasive action as quickly as possible. You have people who will approach you under all guises And if you feel something is wrong, don't bother hang around to find out if you're correct. Take evasive action.
All right. Want to bring in Dr. Mackay. We are up on a break. We'll be right back.
Did you know Breeze powder detergent is also antibacterial? Even after washing, bacteria can remain on your clothes, which can cause diseases. Breeze kills 99.9% of bacteria while removing even the toughest stains. So, really clean your clothes with Breeze.
It is 7:45 on the Sound of Love.
It's almost Christmas and Phosphorus Super Sale is back. Yes, you heard it. Come Monday, November 22 to December 2, enjoy massive discounts on electrical and lighting products, LED bulbs, flood lamps, and so much more. COVID still a keep, so all protocols will be strictly observed. Step on down to Phosphorus in Kingston, Mandeville, and Montego Bay, or visit phosphorus.com/shop. It's Phosphorus Super Sale, November 22 to December 2. It's Phosphorus.
211 is a hotline dedicated to reporting child abuse. It is easy to remember and accessible 24 hours a day across all networks. Report all forms of child abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional, neglect, and trafficking. Our children are depending on us to protect them. If you see something, make the call. Report child abuse. Call 211.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. In this, the second watch, we are discussing safety, security, and the Christmas season that is upon us. And we have online two experts in the field on the topic, Mr. Robert Finsley-Smith, security expert and consultant, and Dr. Jason Mackay, criminologist and CEO of Mackay Securities. Dr. Mackay, what's your take on some of the strategies that are being used by criminals?
Well, just always bear in mind, they start with a plan that you may not be privy to. The robberies are not as random as they appear. You may be the person who walks into that plan, but that plan was hatched long before. So you have to be really cognizant of that, because whilst you're being approached and trying to make a very quick assessment of what's happening, there usually more than one or two of them involved, and they've already put this plan in place for whoever walks into the trap. So quick decision making is key, but how you plan for it is also important, and you have to have in your mind that at any point in time you can be approached. So certain basic common sense rules you keep, where you don't allow yourself to be a target because of implication. The phone, since the advent of smartphones, everybody doesn't seem to take for granted that this $200,000 device they have in their hand is something that nobody else wants, and this is an invitation to treat. This is not something that we normally had. We didn't normally have something of that degree of wealth walking around with. Rarely you would find people walking around with expensive jewelry, but you never saw people walking around with an item in their hand that was valued so much. And this is usually what attracts the same persons who have this preconceived plan to move at you. So your best bet a lot of the time is just not be the inviting target.
Are there some main hotspots that we need to be careful about in regards to this Christmas season, Mr. Finsley-Smith?
That's the problem, Once upon a time, you could identify certain places where you needed to be extra careful. Unfortunately, these days, it appears anything can happen anywhere. I could point out to you one of the major thoroughfares that you need to be very aware of, Halfway Tree. I am of the theory that a crime takes place in Halfway Tree every 3 minutes of one sort or another. It's a place where different people meet, crossing each other, and it's usually very populated, even in this COVID time. And people have already planned out what they're going to do when they rob you. So they have their escape routes and everything worked out. You can't just walk around wide awake in a dream. You have to be very aware. There are normal places that you would think of naturally. Downtown Kingston, be careful about where you go and if you keep your wits about you.
And I guess Montego Bay and all of that too, right? The major cities.
I won't even mention Montego Bay because that carries its own interesting scenario.
What's interesting about it?
You can get caught if you're not aware of what's going on in between other warring factions, or as Jason just said, you walk in on a well-planned operation. Like you push a door going into a store and find that you're in the middle of a holdup. You need to keep your wits about you. Look through the window before you enter the store if possible. And if something don't look right, don't just walk in to find out what's happening.
Dr. Mackay, what about ATM places, machines and all that? Any advice there?
Why don't use them at night. Don't use them at night because the lonelier it gets, the more likely it is that you can get robbed while existing. Once you go in, lock the door. Some people still make that mistake of not locking the door.
And some of the doors don't have any locks on them, as you know, Jason.
Well, I find the majority, the majority of them do have a latch, but the ones that don't, you probably should avoid using them because those are the ones that persons will generally perch around waiting for someone to go in there. Whatever you take out of the machine, ensure that you have it well tucked before you come out. But if you're gonna use a lonely ATM in the middle of Harper-Tree at night, you're kind of looking for it, or anywhere else that is known to have high crime. You're kind of looking for it. You have to be sensible. You have to do certain things at certain times a day. If you do it later at night and lonely places, then you're inviting. So you have to be practical as it relates to any area of your personal security.
Some of the banks now have the kiosks. Is that what they call them? I'm concerned about those because they're so public. I mean, persons who are lined up behind you can see everything you are doing. What's your comment on that?
But I've also had that concern. I mean, how you position your body can assist a little bit in that. And your choice of kiosk is another important. I mean, a lot of these banks are located in very central, convenient places in terms of transportation. But it's really not the right place you want to be to be doing a transaction. And there are so many options, and because you can draw the money at. I mean, I think we have a layout of ABM machines that are enviable in terms of per capita anywhere in the world. Don't pick the one in the middle of Hunts Bay because that's the one that you'll like you're gonna have some problems with. And you yourself sometimes can look who's in the line before you just join it. Because if you join it and then you see somebody coming behind you, you can make an assessment. If the person's there before you, and then leaves the line and rejoins after you, these are indicators that this person really isn't here to do business. This person is here to take out someone.
Yeah. Mr. Finley Smith, how should we respond if you're being robbed or trailed?
That's an interesting double-barrel question.
Can
you hear me?
Yes, you're going to give me an interesting answer.
Yes,
if you are being trailed, don't try and divert through all kind of different places to escape the trail. What you're doing is finding a place that's more conducive to being held up. Head for as public a place as possible and follow your instinct. And if necessary, make noise. Because people who do that kind of thing don't like noise. The world over, in whatever language, people say the same thing. Don't move, don't make no noise. So some people don't open their mouth because they feel that they're going to make a scene and it might be embarrassing. It's better to be embarrassed than to be robbed. If you know being robbed, you must make a rapid assessment and give them what they're asking for, because it's replaceable. It may not seem to you to be replaceable immediately, but I'll tell you what's not replaceable: your life. Don't play hero and then have somebody come and eulogize about how brave you were. If there's an opportunity, flee. Look for an opportunity to run. But don't, if confronted and cornered, comply and then still have an eye out to where you can escape. People who do criminality isn't a little dirty boy anymore. They have a PhD in the subject. They know what they're going to do, when and how. So your best thing is to ask yourself, what if? What if this were to happen to me? What would I do? So have a plan in your mind. You'll be amazed. It trips in almost immediately if you have had the plan. Now, a word of caution. Not every plan works in every circumstance, but at least prepare yourself for the eventuality of being surprised.
Dr. Mackay, what about those who will be away from home for a few weeks or a month, especially in this season, and nobody will be at home? Any advice?
Well, the alarm systems are not as costly as they used to be. So you can install them, and there's some very efficient companies around who do monitor them for you, and that's pretty much a relatively foolproof plan if you can afford it. If you can't afford it, then have someone come turn on lights, turn off lights, check on stuff for you, because break-ins are down because of the COVID restrictions. More people are home, but they're still very much happening. And a lot of these grills, if they're on the outside, they're very easy to cut with a steel cutter. And on the inside, if there's nobody home, then they can work their way through. So don't just leave it abandoned for the season like that, because there are people here waiting for that opportunity. And, with enough time, they can get into almost anywhere. So, have someone coming in and giving the place some degree of life. If you can't afford to put on an alarm system on.
If I might.
Yes, Mr.
There is also an option of companies like Mr. Mackay's own, who will, for a reasonable cost, do visits for you, and people see people coming and going in a security thing. They realize that at any moment in time, these people can turn up. So if you're going to be away for an extended period of time, you have companies who will provide patrols that will visit the premises for you. A simpler trick is to put your television sets in various rooms on timers that will turn them on and off at night when the television is on. Viewing from outside, they will hear noise and don't know what it's all about. And when the screen changes from scene to scene, it gives the impression of someone moving on the inside. So people are not too certain whether it's occupied or not.
Okay. All right. Gentlemen, we have to leave it there. Trust me, I had more questions to ask you because of the safety concerns, but I think you have given us enough information to know how we can be safe, especially in the Christmas season and beyond. Have a safe day, gentlemen. Thanks for joining us.
Same to you.
Okay, listeners, want to thank you all for joining us this morning as well. For information or get copies of this program, call our production department at 876-968-9596-7. This has been the Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer, Miss Kathy Gale, and our guests. Please join Mr. Stokely Marshall next week as he continues to look at the issues of the day. I am Dylan Toussaint, sending a shout out to the pastors and members of the Yallas and Kitson Town Circuit of Baptist churches, as I hand you back to Love in the Morning with Siobhan Blair with the unique laughter.
Okay, have a great weekend. Keep safe.
You too, Siobhan. Bless you.
Thank you. It is 8 o'clock, folks, and it's time for the program Forward in Faith.